Open your ears and lube up your butthole. It's time for the What Do We Call It podcast. Now, here's your host. It's Jmann. Welcome to the What Do We Call It podcast. I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
Woo! I want to talk to you today about the difference between excuses and explanations.
Oh, this will be interesting.
I'm assuming it's a concept that you grasp.
Very much so.
I'll sum it up as succinctly as I can. An explanation is you telling someone your thoughts, your feelings, your motivations for a behavior that in most instances upset them. So you're explaining intention. And while you're doing that, you're saying, I get that what I did was fucked up, but here's what I was thinking. Here's how I thought you'd react. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings.
In an ideal situation, yes.
An excuse is, well, you can't be mad at me because of this.
Or a skating of the responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuses are you're not taking responsibility for how you hurt someone's feelings. So let's say that you're a kid and you're growing up and your fat Italian cunt of a mom says that all of your dreams are stupid and unobtainable.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, that really hurt my feelings and it stopped me from doing a number of things and I have regrets now. And she were to say, well, I was just trying to look out for you.
Yeah, that's not an explanation. I mean, it is an explanation, right? In her mind?
The episode I did where I talked about her trying to apologize to me for her divorce speech that she gave multiple times throughout my teenage years to make my dad and I feel bad for whatever fucking reason. One time because I spilled soup. Another time because I shut a bathroom door on a cabinet door that was open and didn't realize it. She tried to say, well, you think that I don't love you and I didn't want you, but I did want you. I wanted a baby so bad that I kept trying to have babies until I got you. And then I wanted you to have a sibling, so I kept trying to have more babies and I was having more miscarriages. But when I talked about wanting a divorce and leaving you and your dad, I only said those things because, you were acting so poorly.
Oh, the flipping it on you.
Son
That's a
of
good
a
one.
bitch.
That's a good one, too.
So wait, so your excuse for being a raging cunt and making Dad and I feel like we're worthless to you and you can check out at any time, just peace out, fuckers, kick rocks, is because it was my fucking fault?
What?
No. It was because she was really mean and was trying to use that as a form of control in a situation.
And that came up when she was talking to me on the phone about my cousin dying of cancer and being put on hospice.
Oh, okay.
Another one. You got an alcoholic parent who is a piece of shit and hits their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're like, well, that wasn't me, that was the booze.
Oh, yeah, that's
excuse.
Classic. Yeah, classic.
Okay, explanation. My dad was the same fucking way, and unfortunately, addiction can be passed down because of those genes. And I guess I'm just acting out in what I learned, and I'm sorry I did that to you guys. I never should have been like that. I'm trying to get the help now. I'm trying to get clean. I'm going to therapy. I can never take away what happened, but just know that I own it, and it's my fault, and I'm going to do better.
Right. That's the key, right? The admission and the do better. In America, we have, on so many different levels, we have this acceptance of contrition and forgiveness, right? It doesn't matter what you do to a point. If you own it, you admit it, and you say that you'll do better, okay, there's hope for you, right? We all believe in redemption. We all believe in that, giving somebody a second chance on some level. And I think, a lot of us have problems with these people who never claim fault or always find excuses. Trump. You know what I mean? I will not stomach a leader that I don't respect that way.
It's worse when it's a parent.
Yeah.
Or your spouse.
And that is hard, especially when it's a spouse. And especially when both of you are thinking the other one is making excuses when really you're trying to give the explanations, right? And there's that breakdown of communication that way.
Yeah. So here's one of my explanations for things that got bad between my wife and I and why we are estranged.
Okay.
So everybody that listens to the show or knows me knows all the shit I went through with the Beast, with her getting back on drugs, CPS getting involved. They took the girls away from her. And now we're in the summer of 2020. And there was the night of my birthday. Or I should say, once it flipped to August 3rd. So the day after my birthday. Middle of the night, like 1 a.m.
Okay.
I had to send the girls back to the Beast. It just so happened my birthday fell on a Sunday that year. Sunday was normally the day of transfer of custody back and forth.
Yep.
So the CPS gal, she said, why don't you send the girls to her on Sunday? I will admit I didn't raise a stink and I should have. I should have been like, it's my 38th birthday. Please don't fucking ruin my birthday by making me have to give them back to her. Because once I brought them to her, or once she picked them up and they were gone, I was inconsolable for hours.
Sure.
I was crying, sitting in the bathroom, and my wife comes in to hug me. I'm laying in my daughter's lower bunk because I just felt comfort being in their room with them being gone from me for the first time in months because we've been through so much. And Rick James calls to wish me a happy birthday. I am blubbering like a fucking child into the phone, and somehow he knew what I was saying, and I was not at all embarrassed. I am okay crying about shit like that in front of my friends because I don't think anyone's going to mock me for it.
Well, not when it's your kids or, well, for a lot of reasons. Anyway.
Yeah. So work sucked and things weren't great between my wife and I, and all this had been going on with me and the Beast and the kids. And on top of it, 2 of my best friends forgot to call me on my birthday. Maybe that's a stupid thing for a grown man to worry about. But who is usually the first person to text you on your birthday?
My wife.
Okay, who else usually around midnight when the clock strikes your birthday has a habit of trying to be the first one to text you on your birthday?
You do.
Me. Me.
Yeah.
And those friends fucking forgot me. So then I'm laying in bed and I just start having this anxiety attack. And I'm so fucking angry and overcome with all this emotion for all that's been going on the last, 4 months. Because 2020 fucking sucked.
Yeah.
We're throwing all of this shit and working from home as a social worker during the pandemic on top of it. And I got up, and for whatever reason, I punched 3 holes in the wall in the hallway. Uh-oh! It wasn't going to make me feel better. I could have probably gone downstairs and hit my punching bag. But I was so far beyond gone with feeling fucked over and hopeless that I lost my shit. All of that is the explanation for why I punched the holes in the wall. Now, my wife was scared of that. Yep. It upset her.
Yep.
She didn't like when the girls came back a few days later, like, oh my God, there's holes in the wall. The CPS lady wanted me to go to fucking anger management therapy and almost fucking forced me to.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah.
And just having that, my wife is like, I walked down that hallway and it's like, this is our life. This is so fucked up. I could have been like, well, you guys can't be mad at me because my life is hard right now. Right? Making excuses. Like, well, what do you expect? Human beings have a breaking point. That's true. And sometimes the difference between the explanation and the excuse is the tonation.
Oh, yeah.
Because honestly, I never felt so out of control of my own life at any point as I did right there in that moment. And there's been worse times after, but I didn't go fucking punching holes and shit. And that was like a watershed moment for me. Because then my kids couldn't have their friends over. They wanted to have friends over. They couldn't. Well, when are you going to fix the holes? I don't fucking know. I'm not that handy of a guy. I ended up having to hire somebody I worked with at Menards just to fix the whole fucking thing. Paid them $50. They gave me the friends and family rate.
Sure.
But anyways, I'm trying to justify to my wife why she shouldn't hold that over my head. Like, I want you to think about what it takes to live through all of that shit happening at once and how it's coming down on you. And I don't fucking drink or smoke weed. I don't take antidepressants or anti-anxiety pills. I face all of this shit stone sober because that sobriety is like my religion.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of people, if they knew the whole story, would fault me. They'd go, well, it's still not good you did that. Obviously, I get that. I'm saying it was fucking stupid. And I failed multiple people in my household on different levels that night. But human beings have a breaking point. Don't I get any fucking slack?
Right. And what you're asking for, really, when you ask that question, right? You're asking for an understanding of your explanation. That's what it is. You're asking for some understanding. And I think that's, in essence, what you want your wife to see, is an understanding, that benefit of the doubt, that walk in my shoes, whatever silly thing we want to say, it's really what it comes down to. It's an understanding of that explanation, and not to see it as an excuse.
And I'll take it a step further. Why I felt comfortable going there with my anger is because I grew up in a house with somebody who was always yelling, always swearing, never happy, always bitter and taking it out on everybody else. Mm-hmm. So it was like a learned behavior. And also, like, I used to break things. My own things, but I'd break things.
Okay.
You know when you rage quit and you smash a controller?
That was you.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah. See, and I never did that because I didn't want to break my stuff, because then I couldn't play with it. You know, I had that just enough of a pause, even though I would sit there and bend it to the point where plastic was creaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I fucking shattered a panel on a coffee table in my apartment once because I punched it because I was so pissed off at a video game. But that was what I would do. I'd slam doors.
Yep.
I would fucking throw shit. I'd break things that I didn't necessarily care about.
Right.
And what it boils down to, and this is kind of like incongruous with the thinking of my therapist, he's like, you were looking for control over the situation. Even if it's something as stupid as the video game, you had that impulse control issue because your life was not your own. Mm. Your mom hung over you all the time. And I keep telling him, like, you can't always play the Linda card, or it's going to get worn out. She can't be the root of all the evils.
Right. We're not Freudian here.
She's the garden for much of it, but not every seed was planted by her. But because I felt out of control and just like less than, it made it easy to lash out because I didn't care. Because now people that lashed out at me made fun of me because of my sister, my mom that needed a fucking target for her anger because her life apparently was just not what she thought it would be, I'm assuming.
Right.
So then I would take it out there. So for anybody that's like, well, you've always broken things. I have. I've always had that fucking nature to me. It doesn't help me. It doesn't solve anything.
No.
And it's just like, well, I guess I kept doing it because I always did it. And even to the point where I knew it was stupid and foolish and in no way healthy as a coping mechanism, I still did it because I always did it. I'm explaining why I was that way. If I were to be like, well, I grew up in a house with Linda. I mean, why wouldn't I have anger issues?
Right.
You can't hold that against me.
Right.
I grew up around anger. That doesn't make it any better if the kid spills something in the kitchen and I'm so stressed out that I don't catch myself from flipping out over something as stupid as milk on the fucking table and floor that I can clean up. It's an inconvenience, but I don't need to blow my stack.
Yeah.
Just like if you catch a kid drawn on the fucking walls.
It can be painted, it can be cleaned. It's not the end of the world.
It sucks, but don't flip out and hit them.
It's not going to be what costs your home to be sold. It's not going to cost you a ton of value when you go to sell it, if you ever sell it, right? I mean, and there may come a time where you will look at it and you will miss how little they were when they did that. You know,
yeah.
So you just never know when, you know, really something that makes you angry in the moment is going to be something that you look back on fondly too.
But unfortunately, we live in a country full of people like, well, everyone else was doing it.
Oh, God, that mindset. Yeah, I can't believe that whole grade school, schoolyard mindset still gets traction. When has that ever been an excuse that was acceptable for anything? As a kid, even.
It was a party. What was I supposed to do?
Not drink? Yeah. Not smoke?
Well, everybody was getting high at that party. I didn't want to be the weird kid.
Yeah. Remember as a kid, well, if your friends jumped off a cliff, would you do it too? You know, that whole thing. They were trying to tell you to not follow the crowd, to be an individual, to think for yourself.
Yeah, not be a smart ass. Like, well, are we cliff jumping? Is there water underneath?
Right.
Like,
it sounds fun.
Is this an activity where we do this sort of thing? What the fuck? Here's 2 examples that are going to boggle your mind. The first one is a sex offender that was in the facility I worked.
Okay.
He got busted trying to molest his 4- and 6-year-old foster children. And from the fucking interviews with the cops and the detectives, He claimed the reason that he was in bed with them naked is they wanted him to have sex with them.
Yeah. Kind of like Michael Jackson, how there's no greater way to show your love for somebody than to share your bed with them.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like,
it's so fucked up. Like, your excuse is that the kids wanted to be fucking molested? What the fuck is your problem?
Yeah. This is going to seem like out from left field, and there is a point to it, but Christopher Hitchens was an intelligent and just an absolutely incredible mind. And basically one of the things he joked about the Catholic Church should ask forgiveness for was that prior to the Indians in South America being converted brutally at the hands
of they were
Catholics,
forced to accept Jesus.
They were secretly awaiting the church. Yeah, right. That's a good excuse, right? That, like you said, they wanted me to have sex with them, right?
Yeah.
They were waiting for that conversion. Right. Yeah, whatever twisted way you want to justify it in your brain. And that's what's truly sick about some of these people, right? They will turn just about anything so they can live with it.
Thank you for setting up my second example.
Yep.
When the Beast and I broke up, it's because I found out she had been cheating on me. And to this day, she still, not any time in the last couple of years has it come up, but she still, to this day, has the mindset of, well, I was going to break up with you anyway. As if that makes it okay to be fucking someone else. Now, I get why she did it. We were at each other's throats. She would say, I need a boyfriend. I don't need a dad, because I was constantly on her about her drinking and driving and smoking weed in the driveway and always being under the influence of something. And she thought that she was being nagged like a parent to a teenager. But I just want to point out that she had had a baby 3 months prior. Our youngest, who's now 10.
Right.
So when you and I split up, it was in early June of 2013. Jesus Christ. A 3-month-old. And the juice was 2.5.
Yeah, not very old either.
Just all you can say is, well, I was going to break up with you anyway. Not owning it, not apologizing for it. Just telling me, well, you would fight with me all the time, and I couldn't stand living under your thumb.
It's basically not wanting to feel guilty for something that they should feel guilty about, right? That they should feel bad about. And like you said, they justify it. They find excuses to live with it.
And she talked about maybe apologizing to my wife for all the tumult that she caused and the stress it put in our household. You know, she wanted to apologize for everything. Like the point, she had a fucking restraining order against her because she told my wife she's going to beat her fucking ass over the phone.
Like a similar situation with my son's mom and my wife.
My son.
Yeah. So she said she was going to apologize. She never did. And when I bring it up, she gets super defensive and angry at me. Like, your marriage going to shit is not my fault. I'm like, you don't understand. You were always this specter in the background, and I felt the need to defend myself to you, which led to unnecessary amounts of fights and stress in the home. And it's how you being fucked in the head in an attic caused just all kinds of shit to happen at my house and stress at my house that I didn't always necessarily cope with in a healthy manner. And I've been told by my wife, and I'm going to listen to her on this, that it was hell living with me because I was always on edge.
Sure.
Now, I didn't beat the kids. I would never hurt my wife. But I was always yelling.
Yeah.
And I would... Or there was a closet door that had a few punch holes in it, too, once upon a time ago, I have to admit. It started as like I lost my cool once, and then it became a running joke. A stupid one. Because look at the example I was setting for my kids. But you drastically affected the overall livability of this household by constantly trying to fuck with us and lord over our daughters and start fights with me about co-parenting, which the last custody agreement clearly states in plain English that the judge says she demonstrated a lack of understanding of what co-parenting even meant. You know, and it's not just I'm trying to take digs at the beast. This is the greatest example of someone in my life who's not my mom, who cannot admit fault, who will not say they're sorry, who will not sit down and have an emotionally mature conversation, where even though they're trying to get you to not feel so bad about what they did to you, they're going to own it. And here's what was going on. Like, yeah, I was a drunk. I'm a substance abuser. I have mental illness. And I wasn't medicated properly. And that led me to be off the rails, batshit crazy, and a total bitch all the time. And it fucked our lives up. And it fucked up the lives of not just you and me, but our kids and your wife and your kids. There's like mental gymnastics and half-assed childlike wonder in the rationale she uses to so many things. But if you're going to try to make somebody not feel such a sting from how you've wronged them, the first thing you do is you apologize, and you don't use words like but. And you can get up to how you think you ended up acting that way without saying like, well, I came from a fucked up house.
Or I guess, or but.
You can't hold that against me. My life was so stressful. So really, the point of this episode is just for kind of me to put myself out there. Like, I fucked up at being a husband. I have fucked up at times being a dad. I have fucked up being an employee. And a lot of it has to do with the coping mechanisms that I developed in a household that was chaotic. And now I'm having to do the work to unlearn the behavior so I can be better to everyone in the capacities that I'm still in their life. Interact with the show on Twitter at What Do We Call It? That is at What Do We Call It? You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/What Do We Call It podcast show. For the What Do We Call It podcast, I'm Jmann.
This is Steiny.
And that's the end.